Associate Housing Minister Tama Potaka says the government's crackdown on abusive Kāinga Ora tenants is paying off. There are clear signs of improved behaviour, he says, and pointed to the axing of the previous government's sustaining tenancies framework, which he said allowed disruptive tenants to stay in state housing with little consequence. Now, this, he's quoting, is the turning point. In the 10 months since that change, 63 KO tenancies have been terminated due to abusive, threatening or persistently disruptive behaviour. Formal warnings have skyrocketed up 600% on the previous year, with 1,463 issued so far in the 24-25 year. Potaka says the response time to complaints is also dramatically improved. In January last year, it took an average of 60 days to act on a complaint. By April this year, that had dropped to less than 12 days. However, critics are concerned that these moves by the government will see more people living on the streets, and pointed out that 14 of the 63 evicted households had children living in them. Overall, 52 children were also evicted. Joining me now is Bernie Smith, former Monte Cecilia Housing Trust CEO. Bernie, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Lovely to talk to you. Do you think the previous government went too soft on badly behaved tenants?
Yes, certainly. I think when properties are being damaged and community fatigue is at such a level that they're having to complain and police are being called in, and the emphasis is on under our watch, i.e. Labor, no one's going to be evicted, just opened the door for people to do what they wanted, when they wanted, how they wanted.
So now when we look at these figures, Bernie, a substantial jump, 63 KO tenancies terminated in the past 10 months, 11 the year before, and only 2 the year before that. Do you think the new system, though, is striking the right balance between second chances and accountability?
I think time will tell whether it's the right balance or not. The difficulty we've got, Leah, is that we've got a Labor government that is all lovey-dovey and no one can do anything wrong, so no one gets evicted. And then we've got a National Party that's quite punitive at times in their policies. And when Kāinga Ora staff need to apply the compliance issues around tenants, either they stay secure and be very black and white in their decision making, which means eviction or no eviction, rather than listening to the far now story, because every family has a different story, and often mental health or disability can be a component
Drugs,
of one's
Bernie?
behaviour.
Drugs as well?
Drugs, alcohol. I mean, any of that sort of illegal activity in a public house, they should be evicted, no questions asked, in my opinion.
Bernie, some people say certain tenants just don't know what it means to be a good neighbour. Is that a fair take?
Yeah, and that's what I like in the sense of what the national government is suggesting is a wraparound service supporting those that have had complaints laid against them to correct their behaviours, because some have been raised with no guidance around behaviour, so they don't know what good tenancy, good behaviour means.
Hey, Bernie, that's interesting. You say that some just don't know what good tenancy means. Is it not? Explain. I mean, is it a generational thing, or is it just how do people not know how to not be, idiots in a house?
Well, I think even like you and I, Leah, when we're buying a house or getting into a tenancy, we're really keen to get the keys. We're not actually listening to some of the other conversation that occurs because we just want to get into accommodation. And I think sometimes or often that actually happens, I've seen happen on a regular basis. Just give me the keys. And then when you raise an issue with them, or we didn't know that, well, it's actually in the documentation that we've given you, we've explained it to you, but it wasn't absorbed at the time. And I think sometimes there needs to be a lot more follow-up in the sense of behaviour expectations.
All right. I'm still a little bit confused about that. I mean, I'm thinking about how does somebody not know that, abusing a neighbour or having parties all the time or, threatening your neighbours is not acceptable?
Well, I think, we have examples of domestic violence, and often it's generational. While I believe that there's no excuse under any circumstances, sometimes a young lad that grows up and sees his dad beating his mum or vice versa, they think that that's normal behaviour. And I think that can happen in tenancies as well, where there's abusive behaviour happening across the fence, loud parties, etc. And some have got a chip on their shoulder and just feel that they're allowed to do what they want, when they want, how they want.
Right. There are around about 190,000 people in state houses, with still, I think, about 19,000 people waiting. Many don't cause problems, Bernie, as you know. But do you still think there's a bit of, not in my backyard going on when state housing is planned?
Oh, exactly. I think NIMBYism is right up there with the complaints. And it would be interesting to see an analysis done of the complaints in the sense of either a complaint because they don't want a particular nationality living beside them, or a complaint because it's a Kāinga Ora tenant. And I think that that's pretty sad, because if we got out there and supported our neighbours, maybe they'd be a lot more supportive, and their behaviour is probably a lot more realistic in the sense of wanting to please you as a neighbour because you greeted them when they came.
The Prime Minister, I think a couple of days ago, Bernie, said disruptive tenants will have to change their behaviour, or they risk ending up on the street. Growing the homeless numbers isn't the answer, though, is it?
Oh, exactly. But, like in life, we all have to live with the consequences of our actions. And if the government is being honest, and it is being applied by Kāinga Ora housing managers, where there is a good wraparound service and social agencies wrapping around that household around their behaviours, and the tenants are still just telling these visitors to jack off, then, there's just no excuse but to say, well, if you're not going to comply with some pretty simple and basic rules, then you need to find somewhere else to live, and it won't be in a state house. I mean, sadly, Leah, it's children that get impacted by all of this through no fault of their own.
Well, that's been brought up, hasn't it, Bernie? 52 children overall have been evicted as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the sad part. But often in these evictions, child youth and family are notified that the family is going to be evicted, and they do a bit of research into the sense of the needs of the family and other children at risk.
What needs to change, Bernie, long term, so that we're not just shifting the problem from house to house?